Hello, everyone, and welcome to English 130. I'm very excited about the writing process and working together. And I just wanted to do a quick overview of the writing process. When we're thinking about writing, a lot of people get very nervous. I'm not a good writer. I'm terrified of English courses. I haven't written since high school. That's okay. You don't realize you're writing so much on a daily basis without realizing. We're writing emails. We're writing more than ever. So the emails we're writing, if you're writing lab reports or you're taking patient history, you need to write down information. We're actually writing more than ever. And so I wanted to bring up a quick PowerPoint here. Let me share my screen. And the PowerPoint that we're going to look at here. Let me get this back. About writing and what is writing. And so I want us to look at this PowerPoint and talk about why writing well matters. Because writing makes you a better explainer and thinker. You could have so many great ideas going on in your head, but if you can't get them onto paper in a clear and effective manner, then how are you going to execute your ideas for your business? Or how are you going to make sure that your patient's information is clear for the doctor or for whomever else needs to see this information? First, you have to recognize that writing well does matter. And you have to have that belief in order to really work on your writing on a daily basis. And writing demands attention to detail. And so we're going to look at some of those details in the next 6 or 7 weeks, but we're going to focus more on what is a great paragraph. Instead of let's write 10 5-page papers, we're going to write a few paragraphs. A paragraph maybe one week, a paragraph another week, because if you can write one great paragraph, then you can write 200 great paragraphs, right? And you can write 500 great paragraphs. It all boils down to the paragraph. And before we can even write, we've got to get our brain, our mind engaged in reading critically. And so if we think about critical readers, they're actively involved. Critical readers are actively involved in the writing process, in the reading process. They're asking questions. What is the author saying? Why is he saying that? How is he saying that? Is he backing it up with any information? Is this author portraying the information the way she wants to portray it, right? So we're skeptical. Are they just one-sided, these authors, or are they actually developed a piece that is balanced in its viewpoints? And so critical reading is purposeful. It's active, it's engaged. When you're a passive reader, it's kind of like when you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram and you're just like looking at things, and you might stop and read something here or there, and you're just trying to figure out what's going on in everyone's lives, what's happening in the world real fast. You're just trying to get the facts. It could be very reactionary. What are they doing? Those people are crazy, right? Critical reading is a lot more purposeful, but it's still skeptical. It's still constantly asking questions. And your readings, your learnets will also help you to become more of a critical reader. And so I have certain steps that I would like you to take in the next 8 weeks when you're reading. And this is for your articles that you read for your article journals, not necessarily for your learnets, because your learnets is a different system. But for your about 4 or 5 weeks this session, you read an article and then you have to critically answer some questions about it. So I think the first week it's meditation, an article on meditation. I'd like for you to become a critical reader in that, where you not only recognize what the author is saying, but you realize that they are saying things from one point of view. And what could other points of view be? And what is their argument? And do they have evidence to back up that argument? And so you're not only trying to recognize the author's purpose, but also the author's bias. Why are they biased in this view? How could you see the world or this topic from another view? And that's critical reading at its core. And so in order to do that, I'd like you to take the following few steps. So first reading, you can preview. Just skim the article, print it out so that you can skim it, read through it. And then in the second reading, this is where it really is really important. You annotate and analyze. This is more of a slow meditative process, right? Where you have your pencil or pen in hand. You might have color coded where you underline words you don't know. You write questions in the margins. You underline key points. It's very active, engaged reading in the second reading. In the third reading, you can review some of the questions you asked yourself and also look up any words that you may not know from that article. That way you're growing your vocabulary and you're making sure you understand exactly what is going on in the author's mind, in their intent. And then fourth time that you read through, you might want to just talk out loud to yourself. This is what the author's saying. This is their points. Or you could write it down in a summary, write 3 or 4 sentences. Okay, the author's saying this. This is how they back it up. This is what I agree with. This is what I don't understand, or where I'd wish they'd given more information. Just write a few sentence summary. So this is critical reading. I'd like you to follow these 4 steps when you're reading your articles for the critical journal. Now for annotating in the second step, what does annotate mean? It basically means to write down your ideas about a text, however that works for you. You could have color coded, you could use a pencil only, you could have 1 line for words you don't know underlined, 2 lines underlined with 2 lines could mean major points. You got to figure out your system for you, what works for you. But I would recommend that you actually print out the article and write on the article itself. And so, in summary about critical reading, you're going to expect it to read critically in college, not just in the English course, in every course, in your business courses, in your health science courses. You need to be able to read critically. So it's good to engage in this 4-step process now, especially for articles that you need to analyze. Also, try to find a comfortable location, a comfortable study environment. Follow those steps. Maybe if you're in a coffee shop, put some headphones on. If there are kids running around the house, put some headphones on, find a quiet room, work when the kids are asleep, so that you can engage in this active 4-step process. Now, when we think about writing, that's critical reading. When we think about writing, they're linked, because when you're reading, you're trying to understand what is the author saying. When you're writing, you're also trying to explain, what do you think about what the author says? So in high school, we're often taught the 5-paragraph essay. You've got introduction, 3 paragraphs of main points, and then a concluding paragraph. And you're either supposed to agree or disagree with the author. I kind of want to break away from that now that we're in college. I want you to realize that you can agree with some aspects of the author, but not all, that you don't have to be all or nothing. You could glean some great points from the article and wish they had gone further in other areas. It's more of a conversation. So you're entering a conversation, you're trying to get into this author's mind and start dialoguing with them. And so you'll want in your paragraphs when you're analyzing to talk about, what did they say, the author, and what do I say? What do I think? How do I think the author is doing? And so being able to combine these 2 ideas, what they say and what I say, and that they can be similar and you can have similar ideas, and you can take the conversation 1 step further and say, and we could add this to the conversation, right? So using what the author says as a launching pad to get you thinking about, what do you think about this topic? Did they convince you that this topic is how they think you should view it? So that's kind of like the idea of bringing the critical reading into your writing. Now, for this session, we're not really going to write a huge paper. We're going to write a 3-paragraph letter week 4. But most weeks we're going to write just a single paragraph, and paragraphs, at the beginning of every paragraph, there is a topic sentence, which is also known as a thesis statement. which basically gives you the information that you need and the argument of that paragraph. So a thesis statement or a topic sentence is what you're promising the reader you're going to talk about in that paragraph. So it needs to be clear. It needs to be specific. It should be some kind of argument, not just some facts. The sky is blue. Yeah, that's great. But it needs to offer something that people can see that it's more than just a fact, that we're going into a discussion. And I'll help you with that throughout the session. So a thesis statement and a topic sentence are basically the same thing. They're making a claim. And a topic sentence reveals the main point of a paragraph. They tell your reader what to expect in the upcoming sentences. And they're very clear right from the beginning. And so we'll be honing those skills in this course. And when I come back to give you another video in a few weeks, we're going to talk about the revision process, because writing is more than just a paragraph. The magic happens in the revision. And so we're going to talk about pair modeling in a few weeks. Have a great day. Why? It was recording. Where is it?